A really interesting time. We're in this, we call it a networking super cycle. Deploy SONiC, and so you offer things that we didn't have the capabilities of internal. We can build those over time, or we can invest in and build that ecosystem and community around us. And
Hello, this is Ilona Gabinsky, and welcome to Aviz Podcast Series. At Aviz, we focus on developing end-to-end AI software networking solutions. And today I have a very special guest, Kevin Wollenweber. Kevin is a Senior Vice President and General Manager at Data Center and Internet Infrastructure at Cisco. He started his career here about 25, 30 years ago, and really has been driving a series of the company's most significant transitions across product management, software engineering, and technical marketing. So if you worked anywhere across networking, I'm pretty sure you've touched some of Kevin's portfolio.
Yep.
So today his team builds the infrastructure behind the world's largest hyperscalers, neoclouds, and enterprises. Kevin, thank you very much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Perfect. Thanks for having me. I love doing these things.
Here is something I love about your story, Kevin. You joined Cisco as an intern about 25, 30 years ago, and now you're running the whole data center and internet infrastructure business. So you really took this front row seat and lived through the most transitions and innovations that happened at Cisco. So with this, and this makes me want to ask you a question.
Yep.
With this AI moment, do you feel this is a real change that's happening right now that we've never really seen before, or just another cycle wearing in new clothes?
Yeah, no, it's definitely new, and it's the exciting thing for me is, you know, I saw the move to the internet in the late 90s and early 2000s. You saw the move to cloud in the mid 2000s. This is moving at a faster pace than anything I've ever seen, and so it's not just new technologies come every few years and we figure out how to integrate them or we figure out how to build from them. But what's amazing to me is not just the rate of change of technology, but also how quickly it's being adopted. You know, we used to build a new chip in a switch every like 3 or 4 years. And now with the pace of GPU adoption, we're seeing that happen every 12 to 18 months. And so, you know, I don't think we can get a whole lot faster from here, but the pace of innovation and adoption is outstanding at this point.
This is right, and we also see it all across, and not just in networking, but in every side of the business and every vertical. With this AI really rewriting the rules and the requirements of networking, what do you think people should really focus on, and what is the most important, and something maybe that people should really pay attention to so they don't feel bad later?
Yeah. I think the interesting thing for me is if you look at, I mean, we're in the early adoption phases of infrastructure being built for AI. And the last 3 years, we've been heavily working with hyperscalers and model builders and like the early adopters of enterprise. But really it's been hyperscalers, neoclouds, and model builders like Anthropic and OpenAI. And everything there is about scale and scale at a level that you almost can't comprehend. You know, these are warehouse-sized data centers that can't house enough GPUs. So we're connecting data centers together, creating clusters of hundreds of thousands of GPUs. And so, I mean, that's been amazing and it's been fun. But you have to remember, we're still at the early days of AI. And so we're going to start to see a lot more inference, which is going to mean slightly different ways of building network infrastructure and, you know, different combinations of CPUs and GPUs. We're going to start seeing these agentic workflows, which are really cool and are going to drive a different usage pattern on the network. And then, you know, we still have this thing coming in the future called physical AI, which is going to move AI outside the walls of the data center and really enable, you know, not just how do we build GPUs and sit them inside of a server in an enclosed environment, but have, you know, the AI walking around with us and interacting with us and operate on everything we do. So early days, but I think the key thing for me is AI drives scale and complexity, and we have to figure out how we simplify, allow our networks to scale and meet that demand, but also do it in a way that's simple for easy for customers to adopt.
Right, and how simple it is to actually do it must be really hard to simplify the whole process of AI.
Yeah, the hyperscalers tend to build with components, and they'll buy GPUs here, they'll buy, you know, switching here, and they'll put it all together themselves, and they have software engineers to glue it all together. But when you think about adoption of large enterprises, of service providers, and of other types of companies, I think we have to bring a lot of that tooling and really help them deploy.
Yeah, this actually brings me to my next question, especially that at Aviz we focus on SONiC, which is open source network operating system, and that you mentioned that hyperscalers and neoclouds, they are, because AI pushing for new bandwidth and for new requirements, they need to buy GPUs here, switching there, and kind of a lot of things need to come together. What part of this whole ecosystem does SONiC play in? And
well, it's interesting because you wouldn't normally think of Cisco when you think of SONiC, but my team's actually been driving a lot of the SONiC ecosystem for Cisco and in general. We're a large contributor to SONiC. We upstream a lot of the code that we write. We build functionality, and we use SONiC for a lot of our portfolio, especially as it relates to AI. And so one of the things, we talked about size and scale and kind of what AI brings. The reason why Microsoft and some of the large hyperscalers have started adopting SONiC is they wanted a simple and consistent operating system layer and interface into the hardware and technologies. And so SONiC's open source, everybody has access to it, and that gives them that common operating layer that they can then build out their controllers and everything on top of. That's great for the hyperscalers who tend to build their own controllers, but as we start to look at potentially evolving that into enterprise service providers and others, we need to bring some of those technologies along with us and enable the ease of use of SONiC in that enterprise and service provider ecosystem.
definitely. So obviously SONiC is great, but it's only great when customers can see it in production. So where do you see Aviz and Cisco working together, especially in enabling SONiC for hyperscalers, neoclouds, and enterprises that companies cannot do alone?
Yeah, the good and the bad of open source. Open source means you have access to it, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a productizable or usable technology off the shelf. And I think one of the great things that you guys bring and that we partner on is I'll think of you as the glue that helps us bring this stuff together. So tools, technology, expertise, and augmentation of resources for customers where they may not have the capabilities to do it themselves. I mentioned that the hyperscalers have an army of software engineers that can go build controllers and write things and grab telemetry. For the rest of our customer base, we have to bring those tools with us. And so I think the partnership we've created allows us to help accelerate the adoption of SONiC in customers that may or may not be able to do it themselves.
Right. And Kevin, from your point of view, how do you see SONiC evolve within data center, neoclouds, AI infrastructure?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, right? I think SONiC is definitely not the be-all, end-all, does everything operating system. We have plenty of operating systems at Cisco that we use for service provider edge and subscriber management and our campus networks. Where we're seeing SONiC today is in these purpose-built type of applications where you want simplicity, you want scale, and you want something that's built for a particular function. A lot of that started in the data center. We are definitely starting to see it evolve potentially beyond just AI and data center. There's working groups around some other areas, but the best functionality or the most well-used functionality today is in data center and AI, and so that's really where we're focused is how do we let this be the operating system that enables us to partner with people like NVIDIA and bring joint technologies to market.
Kevin, of course, a lot of companies partner together and we partner, but we're more than just partners. Cisco actually invested in Aviz.
Yep.
And I just wanted you to comment a little, why do you see this value? Why did you decide as a Cisco to invest in the Aviz? And why do you think it was worth doing?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I think that's part of what the SONiC community is about. And the reason why Microsoft actually moved this into the Linux Foundation and created a Linux Foundation project around it is open communities help enable the evolution of these software technologies. And so for us, we were looking for not only the development work we were doing with SONiC, but partners that we could work with to help us evolve SONiC itself. And when you were looking for funding, it was a great opportunity for us to invest in that community and invest in somebody who could actually be a partner to us to help us extend the reach of SONiC and be that enabler for our customers. And so jointly, you build products that help operate and manage. You guys have expertise in functionality in SONiC. You can help people build features if needed. You can help them deploy SONiC. And so you offer things that we didn't have the capabilities of internal. We can build those over time, or we can invest in and build that ecosystem and community around us. And your reach helps us get to more customers than we could get to today.
Yeah, this is great. So how do you see this partnership evolving in the next few years?
Yeah. I mean, SONiC to me is something that will continue to evolve. You know, it's reached that critical mass to where it's no longer just something that people are thinking about and playing with. It's definitely mainstream at this point. And we need as big of an ecosystem and community to support that as possible. And so, you know, you guys are obviously growing as a company. You're growing in your customer base. We're jointly partnered together with customers to deploy SONiC today. And so as that SONiC ecosystem grows, I think the future of our partnership is that we can attach and address a much larger customer base than we are touching today.
This partnership is extremely important to us, of course, and we're extremely happy that we're jointly working on this together with SONiC AI and making sure to bring this joint solution together to our joint customers. So, Kevin, just to finish this up, and especially everybody is talking mostly about AI and networking, and this is the most important topic for everyone. So from your point of view, especially that you've seen so much transitions that happened with technology, from your point of view, where do you see it all evolve in the next 5 or 10 years?
Yeah, I mean, well, five or 10 years is a long time in this space. At the pace we're moving, 5 or 10 years, you know, we're going to be 10 times where we are today. But I look at the problem statements that we have. You know, we can't build AI fast enough. We're resource constrained, we're power constrained, we're component constrained, we're software and expertise constrained. And so AI itself can't grow fast enough unless we alleviate some of those bottlenecks and burdens. And I think jointly we have the right technologies and the right expertise to be able to drive that. But I look at where this is going. Kind of the earlier discussion we had, we did large language models and kind of generative AI, and then now we're running all these agentic workflows, and you see the buzz and the excitement that people have around what they can actually do with some of these agents, some of these agent-based workflows. Physical AI is around the corner. I was just in Arizona and riding around in Waymos, and you know, driverless cars is just the beginning. You've got robots, you've got manufacturing facilities that are going to be completely automated. Everything is going to transform with AI, and that's going to require networking. The fun thing about being a networking person in the world of AI right now is a lot of the problems we're trying to solve are actually networking problems. We're trying to connect large numbers of GPUs. We're trying to connect a massive cluster of GPUs to storage and servers, and trying to connect customers to the front end of that network. Agents are actually going to communicate. Those agents have to have networks to communicate. We just recently produced a study with some of our service providers where we saw agent-based workflows that are doing the same thing as a human are taking about 450% of the networking utilization that a human did, because they don't have as much static memory. They have to go out and relearn things or get information or bring information in or communicate between agents. And so, you know, for me, being in networking and being the person that helps connect this stuff together, it's an exciting time. And I look forward, you know, we just saw the SpaceX IPO, and Elon talks about data centers in space and kind of where we're taking things. And so I think 10 years from now, we're going to be in a completely different place.
So you think we'll meet for a podcast somewhere?
Yeah, we'll do it in Mars someday.
And talk about the networking?
Exactly.
Because it really, I think, most people don't really realize it, how networking really sits behind this whole AI era.
They don't. It's funny because having done this as long as I've done this, you know, I think when we were building the internet or when we were looking at cloud, it's very obviously that networking is a big part of that. But I think because a lot of the spend is on GPUs, and that's where a big component of the cost is today, people don't realize how critical the networking technologies are behind it. And the funny thing about AI networks, it's all the same components as what we've built for decades. You still have storage and compute and networking and security, but you have a lot more complexity. You have multiple networks. You've got a back-end network and a front-end network, and the access to storage is so much more critical in some of these AI workloads as it was before, and latency becomes a bottleneck. And so with all these things coming together, the ability to build massive in terms of size, but simple in terms of complexity is something that you know, networking was built to solve.
So how difficult it is, do you think, will be for people to, because you mentioned that there are so many components and it's very complex to make it simple, how difficult will it be to actually for people to learn it and enable it, and especially enable it pretty fast, especially considering the pace of the technology, everything is.
Well, that's actually what we're after. If you look at the solutions that we're jointly trying to build, I mean, you have to build 800 gig and 1.6 terabit and 3.2 terabit interfaces. You have to build bigger and bigger switches. You have to go to liquid cooling. The hardware technologies are the basis and kind of table stakes. But where we're seeing faster adoption is where we can simplify the deployment of these devices, where we can bring telemetry and observability and then take agents to add AI intelligence to the operations to make it simpler for customers to actually run the networks. And so, I mean, my ideal world, if you ask what I would hope to see in 10 years, is the building of the network is not outside of the construction, which is probably going to be done by robots anyway. I don't want people focused on how the fabric works or how to make it more efficient or how to optimize it. I want them to focus on AI workloads, the data that they're using, and actually getting value and ROI from the infrastructure they've built, not how the infrastructure works.
And who do you think will be most successful?
Well, we're doing this podcast, so I'm hoping it's us. But no, I think it's a really interesting time. We're in this, we call it a networking super cycle. Like, clearly there's been a huge focus on GPUs. Obviously there's been a huge focus on memory and some of the component constraints that we have, but networking really for me is going to be that critical unlocker of this technology over the next few years, and so it's an exciting time to be doing what we do.
Yeah, no, Kevin, let me clarify my question. Actually, I was trying to ask is who do you think are the people who are actually right now working on networking and focusing on AI and learning and trying to enable all these technologies? What's important for them right now? You mentioned some of the focus they need to do, but what people need to focus on to make sure they are successful in the next few years?
Yeah, I think, I mean, the first thing is we just have to have people starting to use more and more of these technologies. You know, there's two paths. One is the people are so focused on cost and they have to invest in AI, and we have to, you know, eliminate roles and push all that spend towards AI. The flip side is we figure out how to make ourselves so much more efficient that we can get to innovation faster. If you think about it, just I don't know how much you use the tools and the technology and how you use them, but I've found that like I can get 50, 60, 70% more efficiency out of a lot of the things that I have to do on a day-to-day basis just by using the tools, and I'm probably not even using them as efficiently as I could. And so I think that future state, what I'm excited for is all of the kids that are coming out of school now. The funny thing is they have skills that a lot of our engineers today don't have. Our engineers have expertise in the technologies themselves, but the kids that are graduating today have had now a full curriculum of only using these AI tools and being AI native from the start. And I think actually as they come into the workforce, they're going to create efficiencies out of even the existing engineers as they bring those tools and bring those technologies and help them grow.
Absolutely. Well, Kevin, thank you so much for joining. Is there any last minute advices or thoughts you would like to share with the audience before we finish?
No, I mean, you asked me the question earlier, but for me, I mean, this is one of the most exciting times I've had in the 30 years I've been doing this. I think we're at the early stages of this, and it's accelerating faster and faster every day. So get in, get your hands dirty, and get started is the only advice I can give.
That's right. I 100% agree. So thank you very much. Extremely happy to partner with you during these great times, and hopefully we'll meet again soon, and maybe even on Mars.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.